Is there anyone else wishing to testify on, for, or against the committee substitute to Senate Bill 777? Hearing none, public testimony is now closed. Committee substitute to Senate Bill 777 will be left pending, subject to call of the chair. Senator Creighton, you must have a room full of constituents here for the last bill. Now, they could have been here for Senator Nichols, but he gave up the representation to the next generation of Montgomery County.
He continues to help Montgomery County. They've got both of us now, so that's right. He always will help Montgomery County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Chair lays out Senate Bill 2965 by Senator Creighton and recognizes Senator Creighton to explain his bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Annexation and ETJ reform has continued to shape how Texas grows, especially in fast-growing areas where emergency service districts, or ESDs, have become the primary providers of fire protection and EMS. Under current law, when a city notifies an ESD of its intent to disannex territory, the ESD must immediately release that area. But there's no requirement to verify whether the city is able to actually provide adequate services to the annexed area itself. This has led to reduced service levels and slower response times, certainly confusion for the ESDs on whether they should or should not still respond. This legislation fixes that. Instead of requiring automatic disannexation, the bill gives the ESD 30 days to determine whether the city can provide equal or better emergency services. If the city cannot meet that standard, the area would stay in the ESD to continue to be served so that the community would be protected. Level of service is objectively defined, measured by things like response times, staffing, and equipment deployment. The bill doesn't stop annexation or city growth. It simply ensures continuity of these critical services, promotes cooperation, and adds needed accountability to the process. Mr. Chairman, I know you've led on these annexation issues. This is just a next level, next chapter to make sure that our emergency response out there truly can respond to the communities that need help the most.
Senator Nichols.
I had a question, real life question. It happened over in Willis.
Yes.
On the west side of I-45. The ESD, we did something at one time, they were collecting sales tax, I guess in addition to property tax.
Yeah.
And then, and it was working fine. And then Willis annexed that big truck stop and other stores.
Yes.
And then they got upset because they didn't get the sales tax because it was already taken by the ESD. And there were actions going back and forth. So my question really relates to what happens. I know you can have dual property tax, ESD and city or county and school, but what happens on the sales tax?
Well, I know there's been some controversy on decisions that the legislature made on the ways that those sales taxes are delegated. That was in 2007, and it was certainly well-intentioned. But on these types of agreements and negotiations, those are part of the negotiations, and I know we have witnesses coming next that will talk about exactly that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So they might agree or they might not agree.
They might or they might not agree, but at the same time, this is actually what the bill is about. The public and the community that may not be served for emergency response and fire protection fall in the cracks of those interlocal related agreements, and we need to settle that here.
Yeah, because it was one of those issues we didn't think about it. That's
right. Thank you, Senator Nichols.
Well, one way or the other, it has to fall under a 2% local cap on.
Discussion wasn't talking about increasing the sales tax. Discussion is about who gets it.
Oh, yeah, I realize that. So, yeah,
thank you.
Right, and that answer is 0 to 2, and there's a lot of numbers in there. So, all right, let's call up some witnesses then. Patrick Schaefer, Trevor Stokes, Melody Ryan. And I can tell by the arm braid, who's from Montgomery County. So go ahead and lead off here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Patrick Schaefer. I'm a battalion chief with Montgomery County ESD 3. We cover approximately 55 square miles in the western part of Montgomery County. So we are in support of this bill because this bill fixes issues that not only is our ESD facing, but other ESDs across the state. In 2015, the northern part of our territory was annexed by the city. This included an area that does not have an adequate water supply system in place. When it was an RESD, we responded with tankers that carry 3,300 gallons of water to help out with this. Well, the city has not purchased any tankers nor put a better water supply system in place, so they rely on us to send our tankers to this area to help keep the level of service up. If we were to stop responding, then the level of service would be less than what it was when it was annexed in 2015. As little as 2 days ago, there was a fire in this neighborhood. RESD sent 2 tankers, an engine, a chief. The neighboring ESD sent an engine and a chief. So we're still having to respond to this area, and they're not able to keep it up. There was another area directly behind one of our fire stations that was part of a developer agreement. 2 of the proposed entrances for this are half a mile from our fire station. We have a second fire station that's about 4.6 miles away. Their closest station's 4.7. So it's really going to be on us to provide the service there to keep the citizens protected. The issue with this is that ESD taxpayer funds are being used to subsidize the lack of service by the city. We don't have a problem helping them out.
Just the city is Montgomery, right? Or is which city?
Conroe.
Conroe, very good. All right, let's just make sure
Sorry.
everybody knows. Okay.
I'll hold for any questions.
No, it's okay. If you had another example, I just try to make sure we know what we're talking about.
No.
So you're responding to within the city boundaries of Conroe for emergency requests, specifically fire.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's upon initial dispatch. It's not like they're getting there and going, oh, now we need help. We're having to respond immediately just to keep the level of service up.
Okay. All right. Because if you don't respond by how long bad things happen?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Natalie, you're in the middle. Go ahead, state your name, who you represent.
My name is Melody Ryan. I'm representing myself. I'm a CPA, and I also do serve on the Pflugerville City Council. I'm here today to express my strong opposition to SB 2965. This bill would grant unelected ESD boards who have a clear interest in retaining its taxing territory the power to block a city from removing territory, even when the city is prepared to provide emergency services. This bill allows this decision to be made with no due process, evidence, or public accountability. I have followed our local ESD closely for over a decade. I volunteered to serve on the ESD board for 3 consecutive years, yet each time the same individuals were reappointed. The board members are appointed by a single county commissioner and ratified by the commissioner's court and not elected by the people they serve. In stark contrast, over 23,000 voters participated in the last election that resulted in my service on the city council. That's a major difference in accountability, and this bill only widens the gap. Last session, as a citizen, I supported legislation that would require ESD boards to be elected by the voters. It didn't advance, but the principle stands. Boards with taxing and service authority should answer to the voters. This bill also undermines the existing legislative framework that assumes as the cities grow, they'll eventually provide their own emergency services. That transition is part of building integrated local departments. SB 2965 blocks that path and prevents the city's ability to serve its residents effectively and efficiently. If the bill does move forward, I respectfully urge the committee to include at least the following safeguards. Require binding arbitration to resolve service level disputes, guarantee due process by allowing cities to present evidence and receive a fair and neutral review. I appreciate your time and I urge you to oppose the bill.
Do you want me to wait till they all testify and then ask questions? Well, you're the chairman.
Well, I know, I'm referring to the senior partner.
It would have been quicker if I went ahead and asked my question, I guess.
Right.
So you're on the city council?
I am since November.
Now, the issue of elected ESD board members is something we've talked about for years. I thought we actually passed legislation years ago that required they be elected because the ESD charges property taxes, right?
And they collect sales tax.
I know because over in SD3, further to the east, that's something we require because it's taxation without representation. We had a whole American Revolution over that.
You've been watching the channel like I have for the 250th anniversary of the Republic. It's a mixed bag. We've got elected more, actually in Harris County, there's more elected ESDs than there are non. In some counties, they're still like this. So there's quite a mixture out there. There's no standardization.
There really should be corrected. It should not be a mix. It should be, if they're going to charge property taxes, they should be elected.
I hear the outlines of the late Senate bill being filed right now.
No, I'm not going to file one late. That's not a good, I don't like to do it that way. But I hear what you're saying loud and clear. And if there's property taxes and property tax increases and things of that nature, it should be elected. I mean, to me, there's no doubt about it. It is a violation of some of the core principles. And no, I have not been watching the 250.
That's right.
Although we're going to have an extra fireworks day, I hope.
We are going
It's
to.
July 4th.
I would recommend it. All right. Thank you, Senator Nichols. Trevor, go ahead, state your name, who you represent.
Trevor Stokes.
You're not.
I'm representing the Texas State Association of Firefighters. I was also here last year. We were working on that election bill. There's 3 counties in the state of Texas that do have elections, but unlike
It is Harris, by the way?
Harris is one of them, Orange is the other, and Smith is the third. And
Orange and Smith. Okay, so only 3 out of
just 3, yeah,
254.
yes. And a lot of topics here, but I'll kind of get to the bone. So I've been a firefighter for 25 years, an ESD firefighter in Travis County ESD number 2. The city of Pflugerville happens to reside within my district. This bill would not apply to them because they do not have a fire department. They have chosen to go for a for-profit EMS, and there was a defund campaign that you may be familiar with in November of last year. The voters voted overwhelmingly to keep the fire department intact. They appreciated the services. 70% of the voters voted to keep us the way we were. That's the value that they saw in our department. I would also point you to the Perryman report that speaks very specifically to how ESDs are funded in comparison to municipalities, and you will see overwhelmingly that ESDs provide an incredible value for fire and EMS services. The next thing I'll point to you is this one pager. Hopefully some of you have seen it. The thing that I like to point out is you have 3 entities that are endorsing this. You have labor, you have leadership, and you have the safety, which is the group, the State Association of ESDs, all together combining to support this bill. This bill protects firefighters and residents in municipalities and ESDs. It does not preclude the ability of a municipality to annex at all. It just verifies that someone will take care of them should there be an emergency. There are examples and a lot of uniformed personnel back here that can speak to those instances, but I would also point you to the Lost Creek neighborhood in the city of Austin that also was annexed into the city, and for over 10 years, there was no fire station put to respond to them.
Trevor, we are intimately familiar with Lost Creek in Austin. Senator Nichols.
Bringing up topics, but this is not ancient history. This was this session in a different committee, similar issue where you had local city services that were really being subsidized by a different entity. And we asked the question, it costs the ESD money to do that. And I used to be on the city council, and we would send our fire trucks out in the county to put out house fires because we don't want our neighbors to burn. Yet the county would not pay anything for fire service. And so we hassled back and forth and threatened and did everything else. But as long as we're willing to put out the fires, which y'all are, you're not going to watch your neighbors burn. So that's good for you. But has there been any conversations between the ESD and the city of Conroe, because we're talking about Conroe, about compensating the ESD when you do send those tanker trucks? It would reduce the, I'm supportive of the bill, but I'm just talking about, it's interesting how things get to legislation when people at the local level don't work with each other.
Right, we had to handle that in the Transportation Committee on another issue.
That was my
recently.
committee.
So to my knowledge, no, there hasn't been any communication. It's just kind of like, hey, y'all just send it. And I don't think it's necessarily a fire department issue because obviously the fire department's theirs, but you're right. I mean, that's the problem is we're having to use our taxpaying funds and we're not getting anything for it.
Did anybody pick up the phone and say, hey, why don't y'all compensate us for this service?
There have been some other conversations, but it's just hasn't
I
gone.
mean, you got a city councilman. Are you from,
No.
okay, different city. Okay, all right, thank you. Idea.
Anything else that you want to add? Because we did ask a couple questions of you.
No, I would though, Senator, I mean, exactly what you're saying. The intent of this bill would force two local agencies, entities, political subdivisions to have a conversation to ensure that the residents are taken care of. That's the intent of the bill. There's no intent to stymie a city's ability to annex or an ESD's ability to keep their kingdom together, if that's what you want to call it. There's been a lot of assertions about that. The big thing is forcing local agreements to come together to make sure that the residents are taken care of.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. Call up the next group. Let's see. Stephen Watson, Clay Avery, and David Rogers. Stephen, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members. My name is Stephen Watson. I represent Parker County Emergency Services District 1 and the Texas Fire Chiefs Association, and I'm here in strong support of this bill. A couple of things I'd like to point out to Senator Nichols' question. In instances that we've encountered in North Texas, we did indeed pick up the phone, and it was a 9-year conversation that ultimately, yes, sir.
9 years.
That ultimately ended in us drawing the line in the sand.
It's okay, it only took the Texas Senate 10 years to pass, educational savings accounts, but go ahead.
Sure. Okay. The services were finally brought out by the city. And I guess what we're trying to fix with this piece of legislation is that conversation is facilitated in statute. It is very unfortunate that we have to come before you and waste your precious time to try to add that to statute, but that is the nature of what we have encountered. A couple of things I'd like to point out what this bill does not do. It does not add barriers to annexation. There's express provision in the current statute that says these procedures happen after all other procedures have happened to execute an annexation. It also does not prevent a municipality from entering into any kind of a written agreement, a strategic partnership agreement with consensual annexation. In fact, if you read the statute in Chapter 43 on consensual annexation, the cities aren't even required to include in their written plan with that owner-driven annexation to provide those services. So it's very important that there's interlocal collaboration to come to the table to figure out who is going to provide the services, both in the immediate term after the annexation and in the long term. Finally, I would challenge that some have asserted that this is a property rights issue, that if an owner who wants to execute annexation wants the city services instead of the level of services that the ESD provides, that's an issue. I think we need to be honest about who those owner-driven annexations are, because they're developers who are a whole property owner, but that transitions after development into hundreds or thousands of individual property owners. Thank you.
Thank you for coming from Parker County. Appreciate your testimony. Pretty straightforward. Okay, state your name, who you're with.
My name is David Rogers. Like Melody Ryan, I serve on the Pflugerville City Council, and I'm also the proud father of a firefighter and paramedic here in Travis County. Senator Nichols, I think you are absolutely correct that when you have a entity that sets tax rates, they should be elected. And I believe that in Houston, in Harris County, you don't have the same kind of issues that we have because you do have elected bodies dealing with each other, elected cities and city councils and elected boards. But here what we have is appointed bureaucrats. And so you have a city where you have elected officials and then you have elected bureaucrats who say, well, we're going to set the terms. And if you don't like the terms, tough. There's not a third party, not a mediator, not an arbitrator, not a judge who can say, well, the ESD is being unreasonable. And of course, we're used to an unreasonable ESD in ESD2 in Pflugerville. In 2020 and 2021, after providing EMS service for several years, they said, well, we're just not going to do that anymore. And now the city of Pflugerville provides EMS service to our citizens at less than half the cost of what the ESD charged. Of course, they were alleging that they were going to run out of money by 2024. They were facing insolvency. The latest audit that came out from them at the end, for the end of 2024, says that they have $52 million in a bank, which is some distance from insolvency. I'd ask you not to pass this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Clay, state your name, who you represent.
There we go. Okay, sorry. I'm Clay Avery. I'm the Executive Director of Safety, the State Association of Fire and Emergency Districts. We are the state association for ESDs. Emergency Services Districts. Services, that's our middle name. That's literally what we do. And I want to refocus this conversation on that's what this simple bill is about. It's not about trying to restrict municipal annexation, as you've heard. But what we have a problem with, if the municipality annexes into a territory and removes that from the ESD tax rolls, and then is unwilling or unable to provide service to those residents who were getting that service, forcing the ESD into a choice between, okay, do we let our other remaining taxpayers subsidize that service, or do we just let the calls drop into the gap? I can tell you, that's not what these folks do as first responders. So they're forced into this impossible choice, and that's what we're trying to do, is ensure the level of service stays at what these residents of this area deserve. It's not about an ideological issue against ESDs or somebody's personal axe to grind against a specific ESD. This is about ensuring that we can continue continuity of service. And we're talking about emergency services, life-saving, property-protecting services. I will append this. I have been a resident of Pflugerville, Texas since 1986. I am a resident today. I am incredibly, incredibly proud of Travis County Emergency Services District Number 2. They are an ISO Class 1 department. They are a fantastic, also known as the Pflugerville Fire Department. They are a fantastic department. I just need to throw that out there since I've had two council members who I'm a constituent of attack them. I want to make sure y'all know they're a great ESD.
All right, any questions? Thank you, gentlemen, for your testimony. Appreciate the trip all the way in from Parker County. I'm glad that it took 9 years to get it done. You were a year ahead of us, okay? Even though Senator Creighton's on both bills. Nick Perkins, John Carlton, and John Sullivan. Okay. Stage right.
I guess I will take this. Thank you.
Stage right to stage left. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Good morning. Well, actually, it's evening now. Chairman Betancourt and members, I appreciate you taking the time.
We wish it was. But...
Yes, I agree. I'm sharing that dream with you.
Okay. We have had an historic day here today, Senator Creighton.
It was.
Right.
Day to celebrate.
Went out of the park earlier, so, all right.
So I thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is John Sullivan, and I serve as fire chief for both the city of Georgetown and Williamson County ESD 8. Where we're at in Williamson County, just north of you, we share a collaborative relationship with our neighboring ESDs, and we really believe that collaboration should be the theme of this proposed legislation as well, much as like was talked about earlier. Unfortunately, I have to be here today to express my opposition to the bill as currently written because it threatens to destabilize how emergency services are planned and delivered where we're at in Williamson County. We'd like to work with your offices on this with 2965, really being an issue where it's creating a situation where there's not any neutral oversight. We've already talked about that a little bit as far as an arbitration process. That's really the fundamental piece here. This is a piece of legislation where we're now essentially trading titles for who's the bad actor or the potential to be the bad actor. Right now it's the cities who are bad actors, but without a neutral third party, we're now just shifting that over to another party. We're essentially saying that there's 5 main issues here. One, it doesn't promote or encourage collaborative relationships. It doesn't honor the support of the individual property rights. In fact, it has the potential to dismiss the legitimate rights and wishes of a property owner, whether it be that development-driven request that comes in, or in annexation Title 43, you could have 200 or more people that are asking, but essentially you just have an ESD body that would say that, no, we're not going to do this because it doesn't meet the service plan. That service plan is the other piece that we believe could have a little bit more meat on it. We really think that it's a good start, but there could be some additional criteria to really help nail in what that service criteria is. To help with these issues, I ask that the committee amend the bill to better define level of service to include a few more criteria, require a neutral party to determine who is best positioned to serve the given area and honor the wishes of the property owners, and not just let the ESD make the call unchallenged. I thank you for the suggested language with the author, and we also would be happy to answer any questions today with you. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Go ahead, state your name, who you represent.
Mr. Chair, committee members, thank you. My name is Nick Perkins with Travis County SD number 2. I'm in support of the bill. Just wanted to reiterate, in my district, the city of Pflugerville resides wholly in the district, or mostly in the district, so this bill would not affect them. We do have other areas within our territory that have experienced annexation and the service gaps that come from that. And so we support this bill because it brings clarity and coordination, that we have case studies to show that this has not occurred. And so I think what we're talking about here with Chief Sullivan's, we're talking about future things that have not really happened yet, where we can clearly point now to case studies where there are service gaps as a result of this inadequate process that exists, and this law will fix that. That's all I have for you, subject to any questions.
Okay, thank you for your testimony, Chief. Okay, John, take us home. You're the last.
John Carlton on behalf of the Texas State Association of Fire and Emergency Districts. I can't better testify about the reason to support this bill than what the gentlemen before me have said, but I'm here to answer any questions if you had any.
Well, it looks like that there are no questions at this point, unless Senator Creighton has one. All right, thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on, for, against Senate Bill 2965? All right, is there, seeing none, public testimony is now closed. Senate Bill 2965 will left pending, subject to call of the chair. I have 2 motions in writing, one from Senator Cook and the other one from Senator West. Without objection, we will accept those. Hearing none, so ordered. And with that, I think, unless you have something else to pass today, not sure to ever be anything bigger than what you passed earlier today, Senator Creighton. All right. If there's no other business that needs to come before the committee, or is there any other? No, there's no other business to come before the local government committee. Committee will stand in recess subject to call of the